Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting for Tuesday, October the 8th, 2024. I'm going to call the roll. Alderman Barnhill.
Present.
Alderman Blanton.
Here.
Alderman Caesar.
Here.
Alderman Peterson.
Here.
Alderman Berger.
Present.
Vice Mayor Brown absent. Alderman Potts.
Present.
Alderman Baggett.
Present.
And the mayor is here. We're going to begin tonight with an invocation. I've asked Alderman Potts, actually Alderman Potts asked me, and I'm going to grant him the opportunity to give the invocation. I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance. So I think he may want to make a comment prior to the invocation, so please stand with me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. Tonight, we wanted to take just a moment, and as we pray, we'll have a moment of silence for one of our volunteers that served our community, Rich Buckner. Unfortunately, he passed away recently unexpectedly, but Rich has served on several of our historical committees and commissions and was instrumental in many of the historical signs that you now see placed around town. And so we just want to pray for him and for his family and all of his loved ones. So if you join me in a moment of silence, and then I'll pray for us. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity for us to be together today. Lord, as we move forward into tonight's work, we want to take a moment and recognize all of our firemen, our police, our emergency responders that work day in and day out to keep all of us safe. Lord, tonight we also want to pray especially for the men and women who serve our country and our armed forces. Right now, there are challenges around the world, and we need to make sure that we are praying for them as well as for their families. Lord, we want to say a blessing and to all of our city team members that work so hard to serve our citizens here in Franklin and are passionate for that. And Lord, we ask for guidance and wisdom tonight for all of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen as we do the work of the city that we were elected to do. And we say all of these things in Christ's most holy and precious and powerful name. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. And the next item is setting of the agenda. We'll be asking to approve the agenda as listed unless there are changes or modifications that the board would like to make. So I would entertain a motion for setting the agenda as written.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
And Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to citizen comments. I have a number of citizen comments tonight, and I would ask you to line up at the podium. The first two are William Andrews, and second would be Gary Heathcock, and on one particular issue, and then I'll call up the next group after that. So please come to the podium. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you letting me come before you tonight. My name is William Andrews. I live at 429 Green Acres Drive, just off of West Main Street here in Franklin. Recently, there has been a new business that has opened up in the old Con Garrett service station, which has caused tremendous safety issues for Green Acres Drive and the surrounding street behind it. And just a quick synopsis of what's going on. The street, Green Acres Drive and Harpeth Drive, are being used as a parking lot for this business. Now, I'm all about new businesses, and my sons are own their own businesses, and I understand all of that. But I came tonight to tell you that we have a severe safety issue in our subdivision. And I'm very, very concerned about it. I think Mr. Heathcock, who's coming up next, has photographs, but it's a severe safety issue. And I came tonight to ask you if you would please to ask the street department, the Franklin Street Department, to post no parking on street signs, realizing, of course, that will affect the homeowners as well. But I feel it's the right thing to do. It's a severe safety issue. I was 29 years with the Williamson County Engineering Department as the assistant to the county engineer. I've worked many of these situations, and I know that safety is certainly one of the things that we need to be responsible for and look at closely. I thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And just as a note, these are not things that the board discussed with public speakers, but staff is listening to the complaints that you're making, and staff will follow up on these issues. So go ahead, Mr. Heathcock.
On the same issue, some of the issues that we're dealing with, pulling out of our driveways, we're almost getting hit by cars. My grandkids, my 80-year-old mother-in-law cannot walk. We can't even walk down the road anymore. It's like a racetrack through there. You pull out on West Main Street off of Green Acres Drive, I've like to get hit twice with vehicles sitting parallel to the stop signs. They don't stop at the stop sign at Harpeth Drive in Green Acres. They just continue on because all the cars are parked around it. I've missed my mail about 5 times, 6 times, maybe more. They parking in front of the mailboxes, out in the edge of the driveways. That subdivision has a lot of elderly people. I myself have had ambulance called twice in the last 2 years and more around the subdivision. There's no way for a fire truck to get through there. Matter of fact, today I had brush out on the road. They got my trash, but they didn't get my brush because so many vehicles in the road. And that's every day, 7 days a week. And what I hear from 7 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the evening is beep, 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 bop, bop, beep, beep, beep. That's people locking their cars and unlocking. And that's 7 days a week where we live at. And it really needs to be addressed before somebody seriously gets hurt. Now, I had a sign in my yard because I'm very peculiar about my yard, a lot of people in the subdivision is. The city come by and told me that I had to take that sign down because it was in the right of way. As soon as I took that sign down, they started parking in the yard. Now, I'd like to know from the officials, when they park on the edge of that road 3 foot off that curb and they walking in my yard and they fall and break a leg, who's gonna pay for that? Is the city of Franklin gonna pay for that? Or am I gonna be liable for that? See, over there, we don't have sidewalks. We don't have curbs because that subdivision was built in the 50s.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next series of speakers, if you'll line up at the podium, please. I've got Dwayne Charlton, Kimberly Mannion, Marie Fellhauer, Mike Scholler, Gary Heathcock, and then Roger Knatzer.
Close enough.
I'm sorry?
Close enough.
Close enough. Well, his writing is almost as good as my writing, so go ahead, Mr. Charlton. You have 2 minutes.
Dwayne. My name's Dwayne Charlton. I live at 1540 Birchwood Circle, and I'm not here to cause a ruckus. Appreciate every one of you guys. You got a hell of a job to do. My concern is I've lived here for 31 years at 1540. I have a neighborhood that has kids that grew up in my neighborhood, and they come by when they were little. Some of them are big now, and they had to come by with their mom and dad to see my decorations before they went to bed. My concern is yeah, you cited me twice now for a violation that I knew nothing about until 2 weeks ago. I'm very compassionate about the American flag. It's an honor to display that flag. There's no fear written on that flag. And if this city is afraid of too many flags, then we've got problems. And I'd like to leave you with one other thing. My army over here is going to want to speak. I didn't prepare a speech. Ronald Reagan. If we forget that we are one nation under God, then we will be gone. Then we will be a nation gone under. I thank you for your time, and I hope that we can discuss this and get this resolution in a peaceful and honest manner.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Kimberly Mannion. I reside on Millbank Lane. My alderman is Patrick Baggett. This might be a little bit of a repeat for you, sir, so I do apologize. Franklin Ordinance 15.9 should be repealed residentially. It violates civil liberties and conflicts with the First and 14th Amendments. Constitutional rights are not negotiable. I will repeat that. Constitutional rights are not negotiable. Using 15.9 as a tool to restrict citizens to only 3 flags violates free speech and expression. I find it's poorly written. It's overly broad in number, kind, type, materials, time, and location. The number 3 is arbitrary. It covers all flags, yet there are numerous types of flags, including graduation, holiday, political, cemetery, and, of course, American flags. If the city goes after displays of American flags above others, as was evident with Mr. Scholler, this is discrimination, and targeting our national symbol is reprehensible. The city cannot enact laws favoring a particular group over another. In this case, the group that values a smaller flag aesthetic. Since everyone has the right to equal legal protection, 15.9's limited preference for fewer flags violates the 14th Amendment. It's unlawful to use aesthetic moralism as a scapegoat to violate and undermine individual rights. According to Tennessee Code 66, it doesn't impose such restrictions. The Federal Flag Code does not impose fines for noncompliance, nor does it have enforcement procedures. Rather, the code serves as a guide that individuals can voluntarily follow. It would better serve the community if Franklin implemented the higher authorities' guidance. This is not a safety or health problem. 15.9 is misguided legislation and appears to be a statute enacted, quite honestly, out of fear or an overblown risk perception based on offenses, opinions, or distaste of aesthetics. There is no protected right not to be offended.
You'll finish up, please,
It's a
ma'am.
waste of tax dollars to harass residents about flag displays and decorations when there's more important work to be done. Wilco does not impose this government overreach, and it's also of note in the drawing that the picture shows a commercial building, not a private home. There should be no such oppressive rule, and I respectfully request that the City Council take all necessary actions to repeal Franklin Ordinance 15.9. I thank you all for your time.
Do I go ahead and start?
Please, just come up and start speaking.
Okay.
Say who you are.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Alderman. My name is Marie Fellhauer, and I've lived full-time here in Tennessee since summer of '22. I owned 2 homes in Franklin, but recently sold one of those homes, the one we lived in, and now live just outside of Franklin in Williamson County. I still own a home in Franklin in Zone 2. I'm a wife of 22 years and a mother of a 9-year-old son. I'm a retired Los Angeles Police Department lieutenant of nearly 26 years and a former planning commissioner and city councilwoman from the city of El Segundo in California. I'm also a former president of Independent Cities Association, and I've served on several other boards and commissions. I only say this to emphasize the amount of time that I understand the amount of time that you all invest in your positions, and you have my deepest gratitude and respect for your service to the wonderful city of Franklin. Thank you for what you all do. I learned of the city ordinance limiting the number of flags on private property when I saw the news story about Mr. Charlton, whom I only know from that story. I've never been to his property, nor even driven by it. My interest was piqued by the story because I'm a believer in property owners' rights and a firm believer in protecting citizens' constitutional rights. I strongly believe in the First Amendment. While I understand there are limits when practicing First Amendment rights on public property and that the government can regulate the time, place, and manner of such speech, I am unfamiliar with limiting First Amendment rights on private property. I do not fully understand the history leading up to the implementation of this ordinance, but given the concerns and grievances being brought forth now, I respectfully request the board place this item on a near future agenda for a report on the history of the ordinance, public input, public BOMA discussion, and consideration of possible amendments in order to protect the First Amendment rights on private property. Again, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Alderman, for your service to the city of Franklin.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Scholler. I live on Battle Avenue, and I'm simply here because of Dwayne. When I saw his story, the very first thing I thought was a revolutionary flag. Don't tread on me. I saw a story and I put on next door, you know what, I'm gonna go out and buy some flags. I'm gonna go out to Amazon and buy some flags on a stick. I bought 10 of these, about twice the size. And in 2 days, I got a citation from the Franklin city government stating that if I didn't take them down, I would be charged $300 a day. This is actually not specifically 9 flags against 30 feet of my fence line, no bigger than twice this size. I can't hardly imagine that 30 years ago when this rule was, I guess, the genesis of the rule started, that was the intention. Now, I know we can't have 100 flags in a yard. I get that. Some people disagree because how are we going to do this? But I would propose that we work at a little bit more than 3 flags. And I would propose that certain days, Kathleen is not here, but she's really worried that during, give me a second here, Independence Day, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and Flag Day, we can't put any flags up, more than 3, on the most patriotic days in our, in our country. I would ask for a rewrite on the laws. I think it's very ambiguous, like you said earlier. That's what we're all actually here to do. But thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Roger Knatzer, live at 1544 Birchwood Circle. I sent you all an email earlier this morning. Hopefully you got it. It was intended to be thoughtful. Hopefully it came across that way. I want to thank you for your service to the community. I understand there is an interest to regulate the nature of Franklin. Completely appreciate that. And so I support that. Okay. However, Dwayne was just a little before 2 p.m. today was cited again for his flags. Now, obviously that was intentional, okay, to be upfront with you, because if you see that situation in that context, it makes absolutely 0 sense. And so we put that out there to make a point that this, in this context, makes absolutely 0 sense. What context it doesn't make sense in, I don't know. That's a longer discussion. But in this one, it doesn't. Dwayne's been putting up substantial holiday displays, Halloween, Christmas. And on 4th of July and Memorial Day, he'll put up his flags by themselves, not other blow-up type things with them. But he's been doing this a long time, like you said. My kids grew up with that next door to him, okay? I think I'm probably going to have to get a second job to pay for the fines related to Halloween, Christmas, 4th of July, Memorial Day. You know, that might be a thing for me. For the community, I would be careful. Some people, there's some things going on some of the posts and things going on in the community. And some people are, I think, using this ordinance as lawfare. They may not appreciate this flag, that flag, whatever flag, I don't care. And they say, okay, I don't like that. I'm going to use this against them. To the community, we need to be careful asking a government entity to enact regulations to persecute another citizen. We cannot do that. At some point, the power you've given the government to do this is going to come back and persecute you. What's more important to you, your freedom or your comfort? Thank you.
We'll now go to approval of the minutes from September the 24th, 2024 work session and Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. Consider a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion?
Oh, I didn't second it.
Oh, I'm sorry. You sounded like Alderman
I think it was
Berger.
that, I think it was that end.
I was doing it bigger. Okay, well, thank you. Seconded by Alderman Peterson. I appreciate that. And the motion was by Alderman Caesar. So you ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett. Passes unanimously. Are there any communications from the Williamson County Commission? Any recognitions or miscellaneous reports tonight?
Mr. Mayor, we're not allowed to engage with the community during public comment, but I spoke with the city administrator and he said I might be able to speak to this. Is that all right?
You asking me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All
I
right.
recognize you.
Well, I think the public comment tonight, because you all came out and vocalized these concerns, and I've talked to many of you individually, I think the lady who spoke about setting this for a future agenda item is very appropriate. And there is some history, quite frankly, that some of us will probably remember when it was passed, but I think we need to get.
Some of us do.
Yes, sir. I knew Alderman Barnhill and I think that we need to understand that and also understand kind of the, because I have no problem with these the flags that are in the yard. I mean, I think there is some exploring to do. And I know the hearts of this board, and I don't think that some of the things put forward tonight, which rightfully so, or felt, are the spirit of what this board has. And so there's a couple of things we've been talking about. I'll ask staff and the legal department and codes to get together, and we'll talk about some of the things we might be able to address and discuss publicly, because I think that's the most important part. But appreciate you all bringing this to the attention, and know that most of y'all, I'm your alderman, but I'm listening, and I think this board will listen and wants to listen. But we just need to do that at a different meeting.
I just add the comment that this is something the board gets to decide. This is an ordinance that dates back to at least 1991. And so this is something that you all can weigh in on. And one of the things we try to do is work together to find solutions. And this would be no exception to that. We'll give you some other information and context that can help you look at this and see what guidance you want to provide. And we'll engage with that, and any other feedback the residents want to provide us to, we're glad to hear from you as well. So thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Mayor. What,
I encourage you, excuse me, could I say one more thing? I'd encourage you just to drive by my displays and see, and I'm not bragging about it, but all my neighbors, I guess I am.
Yeah.
Just to see what it's like.
Thank you, sir.
not related to that, how is the census going?
Oh, sure. Yeah. The census is underway. We're had good response. We have over 6,000, I think, is last I saw over the weekend, that have registered. But we really are encouraging folks to go to our website, franklintn.gov. You can click on there and you can get done in less than a minute. Or you can fill out the form, probably also less than a minute, and it helps us get that information updated. We'd really urge folks, if at all possible, to get that back to us online or in the mailer by October 25th. That helps us know where we are and then do some additional direct follow-up on anybody that has not responded yet. But a big thanks to our team that's been working on this. Vernon's worked with our team that's been on this, and our communication team did a fantastic job. If you haven't seen the John Franklin is the singer, but John Denver Takeoff version of Please Fill Out Our Census, it would be a great time. So please check that out. And please fill out the form, more importantly. It helps us get about $175 per capita, which, if our population estimates are even close to right, that would end up being $1 million a year for the rest of this decade of taxes our citizens already pay. So this is important, and it's as limited as tell us where you live and who lives there.
That's right.
Thank you, Alderman Barnhill, for raising that
Bringing it
question.
up. Any other miscellaneous reports or recognitions? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda, and all items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body. Tonight, we're considering items 12 through 15. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Barnhill, seconded by Alderman Potts. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton. Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. We'll now go to item number 4, which is a public hearing. Consideration resolution 2024-66, a resolution amending Gateway Village PUD subdivision revision 7 to extend the vested rights for the property located west of Franklin Road and south of Linwood Way located at 120 Davenport Boulevard. Joey?
Thank you. The request is to extend the vesting period for the Gateway Village PUD subdivision an additional 18 months until April 10th of 2026 to allow the applicant to secure any necessary permits and commence site preparation. The revised development plan for Gateway Village was approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen on October 11th of 2021. The revision was specifically submitted to request the addition of 6 residential units to their last remaining mixed-use building. Staff recommended approval with the conditions of that revision, and BOMA approved it by a vote of 8-0. The plan is within the first 3-year period and is vested until October 11th of this year. The applicant submitted a site plan for Lot 134, but they have not yet pulled any building permits for the site. In reviewing the plan against the current city regulations, the current plan generally complies. The differences in today's zoning ordinance versus their vested ordinance are minor and could be incorporated into the design without major changes to the plan should they lose their vesting. A new parkland agreement would also need to be approved with any new plan as well. So staff recommends approval of resolutions 2024-66 if the board determines that the continuation of vested rights for this development is in the best interest of the community. Thank you.
Does anyone want to speak to this body? If not, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion.
I recommend approval with the conditions of revision that's in the motion as well.
Second.
Appropriate motion second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 5, this is a public hearing consideration ordinance 2024-29, ordinance to amend the budget of the city of Franklin for FY 2024-25. Michael Walters Young.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, Mayor and Alderman. My name is Michael Walters Young, your Chief Budget and Performance Officer. This evening, we will be reviewing Ordinance 2024-29. This is the first of at least 3 amendments we anticipate this year to amend the fiscal year 2025 operating budget for the city of Franklin. It is in 3 parts. The first is the distribution of our annual wage increases. The second are accounting for previous year carryovers or expense increases in vehicles and equipment. And third is the initial amendment for an additional purchase of land. The general fund is where we start. There is a net change of $0 in the general fund. The total amount of budgeted activity, however, is $1,983,091. That's attributable to 2 of the 3 amendments I just spoke of. $1,918,948 is the distribution from general expenses to all departments for the annual wage increases. As a reminder, this year's wage increase had 2 components: a 3% cost of living adjustment given to all employees, and then a merit adjustment of between 0.5% and 2.5%, depending upon an individual's performance appraisal. The second item, carryovers or expense increases, total $64,143. They include $28,600 to the Human Resources Department, in part for the city's new employee recognition system, $25,000 in carryover funds for a survey of the development community, which was begun but not completed in fiscal 24 and actually was conducted in the first quarter, fiscal quarter or third quarter calendar of 2024, and $10,543 additional dollars from the Traffic Division of the Streets Department, the higher cost of a platform truck, which was originally budgeted in 2024, unbudgeted, rebudgeted in 25, and it costs more than what we had hoped. The second fund affected is the Street Aid and Transportation Fund. That's a carryover of $98,727 in unspent paving funds from the prior year. A question was raised at Budget and Finance when this was put forward as to was there a particular project or was there a particular street or road? And the answer is no, that what happens is there are certain roads we anticipate being able to get done, and this is the balance that simply we were unable to fully expense in '24. Paving is important to this community as it is to all, and so we want to make sure that those funds which fell to fund balance could be reappropriated and spent to do additional improvements and maintenance this year. The third fund is the Sanitation Environmental Services Fund. That's a change of $0, $91,752 going between departments for the annual wage increases. The Stormwater Fund has the distribution also of the annual wage increases for $173,071 and carryover expenses, again, higher cost of the vacuum truck for the Stormwater Streets Department costing $17,394 more than what we had anticipated when the budget was originally approved. The final three funds, two of them are directly related. $1 million in additional expense is a transfer to the Capital Projects Fund for the city's first contribution towards a joint land purchase with Franklin's Charge for properties adjacent to Roper's Knob Hillhaven and another parcel in the Battlefield Park property in downtown. The total transaction cost to the city of Franklin is $4 million. You will see the balance of that $3 million appropriated in the second budget amendment, which will go to Budget and Finance in early December, and then come in front of you probably the first meeting in January, if not second meeting in January 2025.
There will be no second meeting in January. I mean, in December, I'm sorry. It didn't click. Excuse me for interrupting.
You can interrupt whenever you wish, Mr. Mayor. Capital Projects Fund is, the land purchase is actually recorded there. The monies are coming over from the Hotel Motel Fund. And finally, net change of $0 in the Water Management Fund. The total budgeted activity is $311,189 for the annual wage increases. You can see in the screen where there are changes. There are no changes in fund balance to the general fund, sanitation, capital, and water and wastewater funds. There are increases in expenses to the street aid fund, the stormwater fund, and the hotel motel fund. With that, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, I'm happy to take any and all questions you may have on this ordinance.
Does anyone from the public want to speak to this body concerning these budget amendments? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Second?
Second. Alderman Potts had the second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Aye.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item number 6, consideration of Executive Order 2024-01, an executive order regarding the declaration by the mayor of the city of Franklin for an emergency water shortage status 1. I would ask that this now be revoked. Would that be the correct?
Terminated.
Terminated.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that better.
yeah.
Terminator. So I would entertain a motion to terminate this emergency water shortage status declaration. Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar. Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 7 is ordinance 2024-28, ordinance to establish a no parking anytime zone along the southerly extension around the cul-de-sac of Berserk Court. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Seconded by Alderman Caesar. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett. Passes unanimously. Item number 8, consideration ordinance 2024-35, ordinance to amend the City of Franklin Municipal Code, Appendix A, comprehensive fees and penalties, Chapter 1, relative to compensation for the mayor and the aldermen of the City of Franklin, established a public hearing on November the 12th, 2024. Is there a motion?
Yes. I will make a motion to approve, but with adjusted rate for the alderman at 1,800. It was actually misquoted in that. I had submitted something else, and it was supposed to be 2,000, and I would like to adjust it to 1,800 from what I've heard from the board. So my motion would be for a move for approval at an increase for the mayor at 4,000 and the alderman at 1,800.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second because I'd like to move this to discussion, please.
Appropriate motion, second. Alderman Berger, you can address.
Oh, I just, not going to beat around on this anymore. I think we have to look beyond ourselves. Quit thinking it's all about us, and that it's a lot of things going on in this city. We're a very, very active city, very growing city. We're a very, very active board. A lot of diverse talent out there. We need to attract, and as Brandy brought this up, none of us do this for pay. And this is certainly not even close to a living wage if you decide you want to live in this community. Can't even come close. So it's not about that. It's just about respecting people who are coming after us as well. And we're renewing our city contract, hopefully, with our city mayor and our city administrator. Always increasing cost of living. And I think, Jason, you brought that up one time about cost of living and things of that nature. But we actually, I think most of the people on this board put money back into our community. I know a lot of us do. And I think that's speaks highly of our aldermen. And I think that's a great precedence to set for future board members. Attracting diverse talent, ensuring representation of our working families on our board. Young families, people with younger children at home, they need to be encouraged, very much so. Encourage in civic engagement, balancing commitments as well, investing in effective governments, and I spelled all this out in a letter I wrote to everyone. No one takes this position as a job. It is a job, but we don't take it as a paying job. We all have day jobs or are retired and have our careers behind us, some of us. But I don't think people should not be penalized in some ways for serving, or maybe the word is more de-incentivized because of the demands of time and finances and of a growing city. And there's very much invisible things that we talked about before. So I think I'll just leave it at that and say that, that I think that, again, we're ambassadors of our city, and there are people coming after us that need to be encouraged to run. And I think it's just common courtesy and also respect for our mayor and other board members. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I had a question, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Alderman Potts?
And I'm sorry, I don't know who to direct this to. But last time, I asked a question about the cost of living. And part of the reason I asked that is and I've shared this before, I feel like recently we have been going back and fixing things that haven't been touched for 8 or 10 or 12 years or more. And I don't like having to go back and do those things. I would rather have scheduled increases on our impact fees, as we were discussing earlier today, or other related fees. Or for that matter, as we were talking about, increases for cost of living for our team members and also for our merit increases. As Michael referenced, it was 0.5 to, I believe, 2.5 for merit increases. Those things aren't applicable to us. So I wanted to know more historically I know this is in our charter. I know that there was a document included, but I'm asking these questions because people are at home right now, or they're going to read about it in the paper or wherever, and they need to know some historical context about how our rate was set, when it was set, and then what it, if any other communities have looked at this, and it appears that, we, based on what's showing right here, in some communities, this is an average pay right now, but we're a leading city, not only in Williamson County, but in Tennessee, and one that's recognized across the country. And so these are just bigger, broader questions that I want the public to know more about. And I'll go ahead and say, if there's any pay increase at all, that whenever that's put into place, that I'll actually be donating that back to either city employees or to nonprofits here in the area. So, it could be in my ward, for example, but that, if you could just help us, Eric, I don't know if it goes to you or to Sean.
Well,
or Brian.
I'm not exactly clear what your question is, but I can define the process and how
the
it
question
works.
is, how long ago, what has it been since these fees?
I think it's been about 9 years.
9 years.
Nine, I think that's the last time this was done. The way it is established is you have to do it, if you adopt a pay increase, it cannot be implemented
Next year.
until after you stand, the position stands for election. So if, say you implemented this after the readings and the process, it could not be implemented until the ward alderman stood election next year. And then the at-large and the mayor would not be able to get it until 2 years further out. So you never get it during your term, you get it post-election.
It's not how it was done before.
No, that is exactly how it was done before. That's how it's written in the ordinance.
It's actually your charter. And
It is in the charter,
And it
and we
says
did
that
follow that.
You have to have at least 3 months between the adoption of the ordinance and the election. So
Yeah.
it's meant to really stop people from
Right.
increasing your pay right before you take office.
So you have to stand election.
Right. And I don't think you could put a COLA in because that it has to be voted on
Yeah.
by ordinance each time. Now, you can ask the state to change your charter, but it, obviously takes a state action to do
Yeah.
that, and it's kind of a big deal to do it.
Yeah, we were following
absolutely
the
can.
charter as you have it. If you want to change it, it goes back through the state.
So part, if I could just circle back on that. So, and Eric, you're part of Nationwide, it's an international group of city administrators. How often is this reviewed when you're talking about aldermen or city council pay? Because it's been 9 years since it's been done for us.
It's actually, this is not uncommon at all. Because elected official pay is not typically a priority of elected officials. It's not typically why you all do this.
That's right.
So
Right.
I've done this for 32 years, and this is pretty common that it's not looked at that often. When it is, you look at the survey, we're by no means out of step with that survey, but that's neither here nor there, but that just gives you a sense of how that works. So it is, especially in communities our size or smaller, it just is not a major emphasis in most cases. Let's put it that way. I can't speak for everywhere, but at least in my experience, this isn't that uncommon, that it just isn't something that is a top of mind issue for the board, because the board is focused on the community, not on
Obviously
this
not.
specific issue.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I
Obviously
could ask
not.
a question, and maybe Brandy or Clyde or Bev or Mayor, you could, what drove the review for that 9 years ago?
It was $400 when I got elected.
Yeah.
Then
100 when I
we
got
moved
elected.
it- Moved it to 1,000,
50 years ago.
and then here we are.
One other thing, we did sort of simplify it, because at one point we were paying per meeting as well as sort of a base pay.
True.
And we just simplified
Got rid of
it
it.
by going to a larger number per
Yep.
month. And that just made it simpler, and we got out of paying individually for meetings in addition, because that got, administratively, that was, so we simplified and raised the pay when we did it, whatever it was, 8 or 9 years ago.
And the mayor never got paid for the meeting, but the alderman.
That's right. You never did. No.
Well, you don't have to vote unless
Yeah,
it's a
sure.
tie.
I mean, that's.
I mean,
Per vote, I mean, it's,
And when he does, he sure does vote. Gets us in trouble sometimes, doesn't he?
Alderman Peterson?
I think it said 2013, but did that mean that only some of us got that raise and then the others?
You
didn't
all
get
got it eventually, but you had to go through your own individual
I
election
do
cycle.
not remember that at all.
That's how it works.
And I don't remember that either.
Yeah, I don't
No,
remember.
no,
I think
but
they
I'm
all.
just trying to say.
Maybe they owe money back, because I think they all got it.
We did it right, I promise you. Because I remember talking through this, and if you look at the 2013 resolution, it says that as well.
Mr. Mayor.
I do not remember that, and I can't believe I wouldn't remember.
From
I'm
the
gonna call.
city,
It
and
sound like
I would
me.
have some hesitation in voting for a raise for myself. I took the job at $1,000, and I've worked this job almost a year, making $1,000 every single meeting, and it's, I think.
Wait.
Every meeting. And you
Every
didn't
month.
take the job.
You guys are on a different pay plan. But I took this.
Obviously, you didn't understand that.
I took this job not, and I don't think anyone sitting here took this job for the financial
That's what I
windfall
said.
that has come.
what I said.
I want to make sure I understand how Shauna and our city administrator are defining this vote. If in fact this were to pass, it would not go into effect for potentially anyone sitting here who is up for reelection until they're reelected.
Until after
So
your
directly, you're not able to vote yourself a raise without giving the people a chance to decide if you're worth the increase in cost.
Exactly.
Right, that's right.
Exactly.
In addition to that,
Amen.
is it required by this board to marry both the merit increase or the wage increase for the alderman and the mayor?
No.
Do the mayor and the alderman both have to be
No.
on the one,
No.
on one discussion? Okay. I'm going to have a hard time supporting this because I don't know that as an alderman, the additional $800 is justified. I didn't take the job for the extra $800, with all due
I
respect.
hope not.
No, it would be
I hope
probably
not.
one of the worst decisions I would have ever made.
All
Yeah.
along.
However, I do
my
believe
point.
as this city gets larger, and
Can't
now
make the
we're
point.
eclipsing potentially six figures in population here, the role of mayor is not only as a figurehead, but it is nearing a full-time position. And so I even have a little bit of hesitation in only paying what I believe will potentially be at some point a full-time mayor position, $48,000 a year. And so I'd like for us to continue the conversation, Alderman Berger, and I think that the alderman role is very, very intensive. However, we don't sit on as many state boards and we don't occupy as much of the representative voice of the city as the mayor does. And for that reason, I would like to see these two separated.
Well,
It won't pass.
if you
And
can,
again, so the mayors would
See,
not go into
exactly.
effect until 2027?
Right.
The next mayor is
Yeah.
elected, yeah.
Correct.
So is
Mayor.
that a motion to amend?
There was no
No?
formal motion
Okay.
made. Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to support this, and it's not because I don't think there's good-hearted people who are thinking about the future. This is $800 additional. I spend $800 a month in babysitters to do this, at least, if not more. The time away.
You could afford another kid, didn't you? Yes.
The time away from my real job, which I'm not retired, the cost. You know what? If the money mattered, I'd have been gone a long time ago, just like everyone up here. What I would say though is that this board should consider, and I think the city administrator should consider, is help us get some of our time back by help us doing our job more efficiently. And instead of us taking more pay, more resources internally to help with some of the things that we spend a lot of our time on. Because if you can save me an hour, I'm not going to, then it's like giving me this raise. And so save, or 2 hours, or whatever it is, 5 hours, whatever, but
you're expensive.
save an hour. Save me time, and I think everyone would agree with this. If you have a real job, is save you time, and that will actually make you more money. And so I think that's the thing, is that if people want to do this job, I don't think the money should be the incentive, but it shouldn't take away from inexorbitantly amount of time away from their family or their real job. It should be a balance. It should be an appropriate balance of time and energy to do this and be able, because then you can have people that do hold a full-time job and can still run for mayor and can still run for alderman. It's when that balance gets out of whack, and so I would say that I don't want the raise, but I would like to see us dialogue on some ways that we can help this office be manageable for someone that has a job. But that doesn't discount, I think, the goodwill that I think and good intentions that the motion was made. But that would be my 2 cents.
Mr. Mayor, I call the question.
For a second.
Well, oh crap. No, I'm not seconding that, because I want to say something.
I don't think you need a second. You need a second?
Do we need a second?
Call the question.
We need a vote. You need a vote.
Just need a vote,
Vote.
not a second.
Alderman Barnhill.
No.
Alderman Blanton.
No.
Alderman Caesar.
No.
Alderman Peterson.
No.
Alderman Berger.
Yes. Call the
Alderman Potts.
question. We're calling the question.
And Alderman Baggett.
No.
Okay.
We'll continue the discussion.
So I just want to pick up what I had said last meeting. And it is hard to forecast, but I do think that the mayor has really taken on a lot more of an active responsibility than we've ever seen. And when you look at the comps for the elected official pay data and you see Chattanooga where they are, like, oh my gosh, that's so much. But as we follow, and I'm looking at you, Eric and Ken, when you look at our tourism data, we are number 6 in the state on the heels of Chattanooga. We're not really comparable to most any of the other communities around here, except for those bigger ones. And like I said last time, Ken is an incredibly different and somewhat of a unicorn for most mayors for the amount of time you spend, the amount of benevolence you give to our community. And I think, again, Patrick, I don't think we need to raise. I think the mayor needs a raise. I had a long conversation with Rogers Anderson today. I was like, how much do you get paid? And how does this work? And how does that work? And I think that the mayor does not need to be a job where it is a living wage, but I think it needs to be close to that. So, not close to that. And I don't want this to die without having that conversation. I was going to vote to support it so we could get to public hearing, so we could kind of get some feedback from the community if there is any. Excuse me. I guess I would need to make an amendment to the motion to change the mayor pay. I'm thinking 75,000 a year, so that it's not a living wage, but that it is helpful.
That's quite a bit helpful there.
No, well, yes, as Mr. Retired,
No way.
it's not.
No way.
It's not the cost of living.
You gotta change your charter.
Well,
There's
There's a
a motion,
motion.
I
there's
might
a motion
just
on the floor.
We have a motion.
interject just a little
Yeah.
bit about the job of the mayor.
She made a motion.
I'm sorry, yeah.
And if I don't get it,
She
that's
made an
fine.
amendment.
Is there a second to the amendment? So that amendment dies.
Okay.
And we'll go back to the original motion.
So,
Oh.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask, or provide, and ask Eric to help us to provide clarity on the reference that Alderman Blanton just referenced. For Chattanooga, the mayor there is making $192,237.53 annually. Now, the question there, and then also councilmen or council members are paid $28,835, and it kind of goes on. My question is, my understanding is, their government is not set up the same way that ours is, and ours is set up
Part-time
as
and
what they
full, I know.
call a weak mayor government formation. So, Eric, could you kind
Yeah.
of help to educate and remind us, but educate the public
Sure.
on these differences?
Yeah, there's difference in governmental structure. Chattanooga, for example, or Metro Nashville have really elected chief executives that do roles that are both a political role but also an administrative role. Very much like my job. They don't have a city manager. They don't have that form of government of a city manager, city administrator that has all the day-to-day operational responsibilities. In those cases, the elected mayor, sometimes called a strong mayor, has that role. And so It is a full-time job. It has administrative authority and day-to-day operational authority, as well as some of the political or elected leadership components. So it's just a different, it's a very different structure. So that's why it's hard to compare. And there are some nuances among those. We do have some cities that are, that the group that we actually have a relationship in terms of working with the legislature and lobbying legislatures. We call, like 10 other cities around our size that also have city managers, might be a comparable, governmental structure and how they're approaching it. But there's a fundamental difference in the structure of the government.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Burke.
if we want to visit changing the job of the mayor, then we so do that at some point. That would also probably require us to change our charter, because we have a weak mayor system. That is a huge discussion. That's a long discussion. That's changing our form of government here. I have no interest in doing that unless this city, I'm going to assume be over 100,000 in population. Maybe that's when we do it. Maybe that's when another board or people come after us do it, or we do it on the heels of our board. Because that role, even though we have a city administrator, thank God, to run the day-to-day operations, a mayor, the role that our mayor does now is certainly not part-time. It may not be full-time, but at other times it is full-time to him. And some days, some weeks, it's more, maybe on a part-time basis, but I would gather that it's probably more of a 3/4 to full-time job for everything that he puts in, and truly the mayor before him as well, and maybe the mayor before him. So that's a whole different conversation. I don't think we should be putting that into any amendment and just saying, okay, we'll pay you this or whatever. The mayors that come after you, we are not, I was elected in 2005, okay. Glad you elected a lot earlier than me. We've been around quite a while. And when I was first elected, we were 43,000. The job I did here in 2005 and 6, totally different. Many, many ways. Same responsibilities, totally expanded, totally different. So these are conversations that we should be having outside this meeting, probably in a retreat or something of that nature, to expand and say, again, one of the things I said in here, and I just don't know if this gets heard, but we have to start looking outside ourselves. This city is growing. In a few more years, it'll be 100,000, whether we want it to be or not. And we have to start thinking we're pretty good with looking at vision and planning financially and strategically, capital investments. Why not the board? Why not the function of a board? And I don't think it's necessarily adding people to our board, because sometimes you get too many people on a board and you're not productive.
Go to Davidson County.
Yeah, just look at our own. We have 24 people in 12 districts. I mean, so sometimes that's not always. So I just want to put that out and just say that we need to have that discussion some other time and do what you want on this vote. Because it's not about me. It's not, I really don't care. It's not about me. That's not why I brought this up. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would just, if I could, I was not the sponsor nor the second, so I feel like I can share my thoughts as I'm battling with this. One piece that is resonating with me, and I don't know that I'll vote in favor of it, Bev, but I want to plant this seed perhaps with the members of the board. If we were to vote in favor of this increase, it would be 13 years before the seat that I occupy has received any kind of an increase in pay. And if we were to wait 3 more years.
No, 13 years?
It was 10 years, and then this seat won't go up
Gotcha,
until
yeah.
I'm reelected, right? Or someone after me is reelected.
11 years.
So 14 years before this seat has an increase in the amount of funds offered for the service of this seat. If Are you following me there?
I'm not following you.
No, because after after.
Right, but when was the
board-
last time the
Election.
increase was?
The next election that you go through, it would take place.
3 years from now,
Yeah.
and it's been 10 years since we've changed the
Oh,
amount.
so you're
that this
adding
is
those
paid.
on. Okay.
And so if we wait until after this next election cycle for this chair, it will be 17 or 18 years
know.
before the amount that is paid to this chair for this job has been adjusted.
Right.
And so I wanted to share that because I'm not ready to vote for this right now, but I want us to be forward-thinking as we prepare for a nearly 20-year hiatus in reassessing the amount of money that is not paid as a one-for-one based on the amount of work that we do, but there is a reasonability associated with it and a value associated with it that not only I want my peers to feel, but I want the city to appreciate the work that we put in, which I think they certainly do. I just would hate for us to be in a position where 20 years from now, nearly the amount that is being paid for the folks that are serving our fine community is the same as it was today.
Any other comments? You ready to vote? We're voting as outlined by Alderman Berger. Alderman pay $1,800 a month and the mayor $4,000 a month. Alderman Barnhill.
No, you said 18,000 a month.
I'm sorry, $1,800 a month.
I
like that meeting.
You and Greg need to get together.
That changed my vote.
Is that an amendment?
That just said something
go
about
with him.
Those zeros, they're tricky.
No.
All right.
No.
Alderman Barnhill votes no. Alderman Blanton.
I'm going to vote yes to get it to public hearing to see what our community has to say, if anything.
Alderman Caesar.
I vote no.
Alderman Peterson.
No.
Alderman Berger.
Yes,
Alderman Potts.
No.
no public.
And Alderman Baggett.
No.
Motion fails 5-2.
Public community.
The next item is number 9, Resolution 2024-90, a resolution to approve an auto allowance for the mayor of the city of Franklin. Is there a
No.
motion?
Move to disapprove.
Is there a motion?
Are you sponsoring this?
I asked to be considered for a auto allowance because I'm getting reimbursed constantly for driving to Nashville or wherever. And it's kind of a nightmare as far as keeping up with the paperwork for it.
So,
And so that's why I requested it.
question before, a point of order before we make this motion. So if you're constantly getting reimbursed, what is the average that you are reimbursed?
60-something cents a mile.
Well, yeah, it's based on the IRS IRS regulations on that. I think, Christine, you pulled a number, is it around 2,700 last year that we did?
It was a little over $2,500.
2,500. So he doesn't put in for everything. So he puts in for ones I think that are just the longer trips. That doesn't take into account
So about 200.
drive around town, going to meetings, doing other things.
Yeah.
So it's fairly.
We know that.
It's not that far off the number that this is proposed at. And so felt that was a fair assessment.
I will
put
move
forward.
to approve because I'm all about you making more money.
Well, you're not making.
Do you not have to?
You know what I mean.
This really simplifies it.
Fix it, he doesn't have to wait till the next election.
Move to approve.
Yes, yeah.
Is there a second?
This doesn't have to wait till the next.
This does not have to wait.
Mayor, do you drive 7,000?
Well, hold on, there's a
Well,
motion on the floor.
there's been a motion and a second.
I will second the motion to move us into discussion.
Thank
I
you.
thought there was already a second.
I think there was.
That was a motion.
It was-
All right, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, sir.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to the motion?
Do you drive 7,500 miles per year?
I have no idea.
Because that's what it equates to over the course of the year. And I think it's a fair question. I don't want to overpay you, I don't want to underpay you. I want to make it easier. I think that's, but, I mean, I think that's the question.
We have 2,500 documented last year
That's
on the IRS rate,
$200 a month,
which is pretty close. But
208 a month.
I think it's a fair question. I'm not like questioning anything here. I'm just saying that I think that's important. I mean, it's the same one that you get, that everyone, I mean, I think it's a fair question. I think citizens want to know that if we overpaying and are we pay, is that about right? And that's why the reporting of the miles. we have to do it in business.
Yeah, so I'll follow up on that question, that's just 1 year. And so I would actually want to see a trend, because I know I can't show you a trend. I'm not expensing my mileage when I'm driving around town or
should
going to
be.
different meetings and doing things like that. So I would just like to know what it was in 2023, 2022, backwards for a couple of years.
We can
So
look
know
that
what-
up for you.
Look,
think you have a decision.
$2,500 is not an unreasonable number for travel expenses and for mileage at 64 or 5 or 6 cents a mile. So, we can hassle this all we want to. We can go back to we can go back to 1996 if we wanted to and see, and see what it is. Let's get on with this right here. That's not an unreasonable request. It's not something that has to be delayed until the next election and the next election. And you've got a motion on the floor to approve it.
I would offer, I think the administrative burden or the release thereof is probably more than worth the $120 we're discussing here, not only for staff, but also
True.
the mayor and his time. And Patrick, with all due respect, and I'm doing my best to speak to the board here, but you just spoke about giving us time back and the value of that. This is a perfect
Yeah.
example of
Right.
us giving our fair mayor some of his time back. And I can assure you that his going rate is more than whatever the $120 divided by the hours that he spends on this expense report would be. So for that reason, I would call to question.
So second.
No, we have to vote on the call
Now you
question.
got to vote on call.
We have to
All
vote.
in favor?
No.
Call
Aye.
the question.
Aye.
Aye.
You got to go down the
I
road.
knew you were going to do that. Alderman Barnhill. Alderman
Robert's
Blanton.
rules
Yes.
are-
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman
It's a
Peterson.
bear.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to vote.
Oh, Robert's Rules of Orders, the bear.
Alderman Barnhill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Alderman
Yes.
Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
And Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 10 is Amendment 1 to City of Franklin Contract 2019-122 with SSCH Franklin LLC for Parkland Impact Fee and Construction for RM. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Item 11 is Amendment 1 to City of Franklin Contract 2024-0092, an agreement and memorandum of understanding among the City of Franklin, Tennessee and the Battle of Franklin Trust and Franklin's Charge, Inc. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Alderman Potts.
Second.
Second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Barnhill.
Yes.
Alderman Blanton.
Yes.
Alderman Caesar.
Yes.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
Alderman Berger.
Yes.
Alderman Potts.
Yes.
Alderman Baggett.
I'm recused for this one.
Okay, Alderman Baggett's recused. Motion passes. 6 with 1 recusal. I need a motion to go into executive session. May we vote, voice vote?
So move.
Second.
Second by Alderman Potts. All in favor, say aye. We are now in executive
How do
session.
you turn this one off now?
She's indifferent, I think.
My
Thank
boys
you,
all.
Ben. I appreciate it.
I do, I like it. Makes you look distinct. My boys all. wear Britney.
$17.99.
Are there any matters that need to come before the board from the executive session?
No, sir, I make a motion to adjourn. Second,
All in favor, say aye.
and that's a wrap.
Come on.